Shalom, everyone. Today, I'm going to be reading from three different books. And yes, so I'm going to start off with the book called The Eyverh People, the study of the Eyverh people in Germany, Togo. Actually, it's talking about the whole West Africa, people and their tradition and their culture and their gods and so forth. And it's written by Jacob Spith, Berlin, 1906. This book is probably about 800, almost 1,000 page. It's a really, really, really um, extensive research on West Africa and how West Africa was um, divided among the European country back in 1844. So, anyways, I want to read a little portion because what I want to do is I want to show today that where we came from before we ended up in West Africa. And I'm going to show you three different maps, possibly four. Yeah, four maps. I'm going to start off with this map that I have in front of me first, but I want to read. Actually, I want to start off with this map. It says the country, position, boundaries, and political affiliation. It says the Eyverh ethnic group settled on the slave coast of West Africa 3 to 4 centuries ago from the northeast. So northeast, I mean East Africa, northeast, Northeast Africa, or Israel, Palestine. Now here it shows here Israel immigrated here 1100 through 700 BC. So we started here, our ancestors, 3 to 4 centuries ago, from the northeast Africa and settled between the Mono and the Voltage. So we started here, Israel immigrated here, started here, and end up in West Africa, around the Slave Coast, Gold Coast, and Ivory Coast. And it says we also ended up with what they call the Mono Voltage right here, upper voltage. This is West Africa. Nigeria, Togo, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Senegal, Mauritania, Niger, Cameroon. Exact same places here. Sierra Leone, Liberia, Senegal, Ashanti, Ephraim, Levite, Cameroon, Nigeria, West Africa. Then, from there, check this out. So, during the slave trade, they knew exactly who they were going to get. They were going to get builders. And we know that they were builders because of this map right here. Wait, hold on. Let me go back. Let's go back to this, which we said here. The voltage, upper voltage from Northeast Africa all the way down to West Africa, settled there, built country, built kingdoms. We're builders, kingdom builders. Right here. Upper voltage. I gotta remember to show the maps when I speak of the maps. I have to make sure I show them first. So this is a map where it says that we came from here, and we know my ancestors came from here because 70 AD, millions of African Jews fled into Africa, and they fled into West Africa, and specifically West Africa. So they fled here. And all these names are in red, as this map says. It says other names in red are place of ancient Jewish colonies. In some cases, an approximate date of settlement is added. So some of the names in red they have dates by. So anyway, so we know that we came here, went into Africa, and it says Mono and the Voltage area in West Africa, which is right here. That's West Africa, Volta, Upper Volta, Volta, Upper Volta, West Africa. So we end up here, and we were kingdom builders, and we know that because of this map. That one. Okay, where are you? I got so many maps up here. Let's see here. Let's go back to here. Yeah, right here. So we're kingdom builders right here. Come and see. We had the kingdom of Benin, kingdom of Judah, um, kingdom of Gabru, kingdom of kingdoms all over the place. All up here, kingdom of Derma, kingdom of Beto, kingdom, Timbuktu, Timbuk, all over West Africa, Negro land. Now, before it was Negro land, it was called Eyverh land, as in Hebrew land. And this is through the book that I read earlier on the last video I did 2 days ago. I talked briefly about the name of the land, the name of the people, the ancient name of the people, who they call Hebrews, they were called Eyverh people, aka Negro West Africans. So anyway, so we end up here, we're here, building nations. Then what happened? Slave trade comes along. So they knew that we had oh my goodness, let me go do this. They knew that we had we fled into Africa, and in West Africa specifically in West Africa. And I'm going to read out of a book. I'm not going to be long today. Out of a book called The Historical and Cultural Atlas of the African American, aka Hebrew, aka Arab people. So this is what the European and the country that was preparing to come get us. They wasn't coming to get people swinging from trees, dumb animals. They knew exactly where to go, and they knew who they were getting, because they were picking up nation building people, specifically Eyverh, aka Hebrew. So then I'm gonna read this book. This was West Africa, specifically West Africa, that they went to. And West Africa consists of nations or countries or tribes or countries. Dahomey. I'm gonna go back right quick. I'm gonna go back to. Um, let's see, where's the other map? I keep on messing up my maps. This one, I'm gonna go back to this one. So they were Dahomey, West Africa. This is where they went to get the slaves. And they knew we were there because we left Palestine, Northeast Africa, fled into Africa, specifically in West Africa. So those areas was Dahomey, Senegambia, Guinea, Ivory Coast, right here, Ivory Coast, Gold Coast, Slave Coast, Liberia, where's Liberia? I was seeing Liberia earlier. Uh, I don't want to stay too long on here trying to look for these because it's kind of hard to read this map. Algeria. Anyway, Liberia, Mali, Mauritania, Mauritania right here, Niger. We know Niger is up in here. If we look at the other map, we can see Niger. Nigeria. Nigeria is right here. Senegal or Senegambia. Um, Togo, Upper Voltage. Again, Upper Voltage right here. Volta, Upper Volta. So that's all West Africa, called Negro Land. But before it was changed to Negro Land, it was Eyverh Land, aka West Africa or Negro Land. So, anyways, I'm gonna go back to this map. Oops, let me go back. The Volta. That's another part of West Africa. I'm sorry. So then I'm going to go back to this map here. Not that one. I want to go to this one. And this is the slave trade and where they sent us, where they divided us into millions. But before I look at the map, I want to read this here. It says, and this coming out of the book, The Historical and Cultural Atlas of African American. It says, the result is European aggression on people perceived. Oops, sorry, all this paper sound to be weak, or the slave was to be weak. So these people that are going over to get, they thought they were weaklings. But check this out. It says European adventurers often wrote in their diaries that Africans were childlike, or African perceived European as lost deities. European adventurers often wrote in their diaries that Africans were childlike, or Africans perceived European as lost deities. It says numerous travels into African territory was received by kings and queens of the continent, given passage through the various countries. Arabs and Europeans visitors often view African as naive, openness to strangers rather than fear of strangers, created the false impression that Africans did not care about the protection of their country or their people. When I say Africa, Africa aka Hebrews or Jews. It says African coast, usually the Pope signed an agreement with a slaving nation which ensured that nation's right to a specific region of Africa. A fee was paid to the church for this assento. When there were competing claims to territory, the church could step in and determine which nation had the consent of the church by virtue of the assento. Since no European nation exercised complete control over others, the church became and remained for several hundred years the primary moral sanctioner for the brutal institution of slave trading. So there was a law written in March 1713, March 26, 1713. And this is what it says. I'm going to try to read it. It has this weird looking handwriting. The assentu or contract for allowing to the subject of Great Britain liberty of importing Negroes into Spanish America, signed by the Catholic King at Madrid the 26th day of March 1713. Art. I first then to procure by this mean a mutual and reparable advantage to the sovereign and subject of both crowns, her British Majesty, does offer and undertake for the person whom she shall name and appoint, that they shall oblige and change themselves with the bringing into the West Indies of America belonging to his Catholic Majesty in the space of the said 30 years. 30 years. This is a law that was written regarding enslaving our people. To commence on the first day of May 1713, and determined on the like day, which would be in the year of 1743, 144,000 Negroes. You all that number 144,000. Isn't that weird? 144,000 Negroes. PSD India of both sexes and of all age, at the rate of 4,800 Negroes PSD Indian in each of the said 30 years, with this condition that the person who shall go to the West Indies to take care of the concern of the Central shall avoid giving any offense, for in such case they shall be persecuted and punished in the same manner as they would have been in Spain if the misdemeanor had been committed there. But anyway, it's just a law that was written in, giving them different nations permission to go over and take however many slaves they wanted to. Well, actually, I guess there was a certain amount of a certain number of Africans. Do I want to read this? It says the route. This route here was actually the route of European and American slave traders. And then you also have the route of Arab and Ottoman slave traders as well, which is a totally different slave trade. So I just want to go through this right here because it's just really really sad, you all. I'm looking at this saying this is what they did to our people. After they knew they were getting builders. They knew agriculture and builders. They knew it. And they knew exactly where to go because they knew that we fled into Africa in 70 AD. So it says here, this indicates to the left what type of let me do this. What kind of work they did, the agriculture part. I'm sorry, my face down there. Oh my goodness. Anyways, so for the say South America, 5 million went into this area here, and the type of work they did was, according to these little signs here, was mining and coffee, and also sugar. Here, 5 million of us. 5 million here. Brazil, Salvador was also coffee, sugar, and tobacco. Brazil, 5 million. 2 million in Central America. So right here they did the coffee and mining. 4 million, 4.5 million. Also mining. 5 million here went into this area here, U.S., Charleston, New Orleans, North America. 5 million, and I'm pretty sure it's going to show United States cotton. Watch this. Yeah, cotton right here. Cotton and also tobacco. North America. 5 million. 3 million went into Europe. I don't know what they did in Europe. It doesn't show exactly what they had them doing. What they had them doing, everything, building from building to agriculture. So they took millions of our people into this place here. Millions. It says slave trade from Africa to the Americas, 1650 to 1860. They started in West Africa, slave trade region. Yeah, slave trade region. Right here, slave trade. This is where they went to get us. This is where they went to get us, slave trade. And you see the kingdom of Judah, slave coast, Benin. So we know this was that the kingdom of Judah consists of Judah, Levite, and Benjamin because it showed on this map up here. Let's see, let me go to it. It's so hard. I got so many maps up here. Where's my map now? Here. Okay, so let's see. So we know that here is the slave coast, which again, slave coast showed Judah. You have Benjamin, Benin, you have Levite, and you have Judah. Judah, Benin, and Levite. Kingdom of Judah right there. So they knew they were going to get the kingdom of Judah all over this place here. They knew. They wasn't going to get some people that was dumb, hanging on trees and swinging from trees and talking hooga booga and all that crazy stuff. There were people that had culture, and that culture was the Hebrew culture. And again, we know they went to get us because we were kingdom builders right here all over Africa, West Africa, kingdom builders called the Negro land or Eyverh land. It was called Eyverh first. So, and then they changed it to Negro land. So I just want to read some culture that were at the time, still to this day, they are still practicing culture there. So this is where we end up after leaving from North Africa. And like he said, 3 to 4 century ago. I think he said 3 to 4 century ago. And we ended up in West Africa. 3 to 4 century ago from Northeast Africa and settled between the Mono and Volta, which is West Africa. We ended up there. And that's where we started building our nations. I mean, our colonies and our kingdoms. So I'm coming out of a book now called The Call to Hebrew, The Call to Hebrews, or To Call to the Hebrews by Mawuli. I'm going to be reading some of the culture that he says that to this day they're still practicing ancient Hebrew practice according to the scriptures. According to the scriptures. So I'm going to be reading the culture, then I'm going to go ahead and read the scriptures that he applied. Number one, we know that in Africa, which is where the Hebrew colonies, because everything in red is talking about this is where Hebrew colonies or Jewish colonies settled. And they were practicing. They have 620 AD, dynasty of Yemen, Yemenites, Algeria. It has here 640 BC, the Psamit, PSA, Psamstic. I can't pronounce it. Anyways, right here. I'm pointing it right here, right there. And then you have up here, Sidon, Israel, 800 BC. There was black Jews in this area. This is Northeast Africa as well. So we're from West Africa and was also in East Africa. And I have another book that talk about the Tripoli, which are ancient black Hebrews, African Jews, and a book called The Travel to North Africa by Nahum Slouch. And I did a video on his book too. Anyways, let me read this. It says, circumcision while other people circumcise because of religion, Eyverh or Hebrew, do so because it is their tradition, just as it was in ancient Israel. It is an abomination for an Eyverh woman to marry or have sex with an uncircumcised male, and that practice is in Genesis 17, 11 through 14. It says, and ye shall circumcise the flesh of your skin, foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant between me and you. And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, every man child in your generation. He that is born in the house or bought with money of any stranger which is not of thy seed. He that is born in thy house and he that is bought with thy money must need be circumcised. And my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. And the uncircumcised man child whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from his people. He broke my covenant. So this is a practice that they're still doing today. And they've been doing it ever since they left in 70 AD, fled into Africa. Until this day, they're still practicing it. Then it goes on to say, this abstinence from certain food as the law requires of Israelites. Clean and unclean food is a big part of the Eyverh culture, Leviticus 11. So just go ahead and read Leviticus 11. Let me just do just a couple, because they didn't give any verses, it just says the whole chapter. I'm not trying to read the whole chapter, whole book, a whole chapter. So chapter 11 talks about the health, the certain food. It says, Moses and Aaron saying unto them, speak unto the children of Israel, saying, these are the beasts which ye shall eat among all beasts that are on the earth. Whatsoever parteth the hook, and is cloven footed, and cheweth the cud among the beasts, that shall ye eat. Nevertheless, these shall ye not eat of them that chew the cud, or of them that divide the hook, as the camel, because he cheweth the cud, but divided not the hoof. He is unclean unto you. So there was clean food and unclean food that they were required to eat. And to this day, they are still doing this, you all, in the culture in Africa, our people. Because you have to understand that all of us wasn't taken from West Africa. All of us wasn't taken from there. So most of our people are still there, and they're practicing the culture. 3, it says, and the Fashidai religion of her dedicate their firstborn son to God. This is the name as God commandment to the Israelites to dedicate the firstborn son to him. This is found in Exodus 13:2. Exodus 13:2. Sanctify unto me all the firstborn, whatsoever openeth the womb among the children of Israel, both of man and of beast. It is mine. Another one. Uh, we are to get dedicated. So he said we are to dedicate our firstborns to Yah. Number 4, in the region of Fashidite religion, Eyverh or Hebrew divided themselves into clans/tribes, just as the ancient Israelites were divided into 12 tribes. Um, Number 5, sacrifices and offering follow the same format as that of the ancient Israelite. Eyverh offering or Eyverh/Hebrew Israelite offering include using pigeon, Leviticus 1:14, and it says, and if the burnt offering or the burnt sacrifice for his offering is the Lord, be of fowls, then he shall bring his offering of turtle doves or of young pigeon. Libation, aka drink offering, Leviticus 2:3. And the remnant of the meat offering shall be Aaron's and his son. It is a thing most holy of the offering of the Lord, made by fire. Actually, it's Leviticus 23. Let me go to there. I'm sorry. Leviticus 23. I thought it says 2, 23 and 13. It says, and the meat offering thereof shall be 2/10 deals of fine flour, mingled with oil, an offering made by fire unto the Lord, for a sweet savor and the drink offering. That's Leviticus 23, chapter verse 13. Meal offering. Leviticus 23:13 is the same. It's a meal and drink offering. And the animal sacrifice, Leviticus 1. Leviticus 1. It says, and Yahuwah called unto Moses and spake unto him out of the tabernacle of the congregation, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, if any man of you bring an offering unto the Lord, ye shall bring your offering of the cattle, even of the herbs and the flock. If this offering be a burnt sacrifice of the herd, let him offer a male without blemish. He shall offer it of his own voluntary will at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before Yahuwah. Okay, so these were the sacrifices that Africa Hebrews that still, or AK Hebrews, are still practicing in all these cultures. And again, they've been practicing it since they left in 70 AD when they fled into Africa, down into West Africa, where they said the upper Volta, Mono and the upper Volta, and they've been practicing it ever since, which makes so much sense. Then it says 6, the worship the storm god whose main attributes is thunder and lightning, Exodus 19. And this is the last one. Exodus 19, 16. I'm not going to do 16 through 25. I'll do a couple of verses. 16, and it came to pass on the third day in the morning that there were thunder and lightning and a thick cloud upon the mount, and a voice of the trumpet exceedingly loud, so that all the people that was in the camp trembled. And Moshe or Moses brought forth the people out of the camp to meet with Elohim, and they stood at the neither part of the mount. 18. And Mount Sinai was altogether on a smoke, because Yahuwah descended upon it in fire, and smoke thereof ascended as the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mountain quaked greatly. 19. And when the voice of the trumpet sounded loud, and waxed louder and louder, Moses spake, and Elohim answered him by a voice. 20. And Yahuwah came down upon Mount Sinai on the top of the mount, and Yahuwah called Moshe up to the top of the mount, and Moses went up, Moshe. 21. And Yahuwah said unto Moshe, go down, charge the people, lest they break through unto Yahuwah to gaze, and many of them perish. 22. And the priests also which come near to Yahuwah sanctify themselves, lest Yahuwah break forth upon them. 23. And Moshe said unto Yahuwah, the people cannot come up to Mount Sinai, for thou chargest us, saying, set bounds about the mount, and sanctify it. 24. And Yahuwah said unto him, away, get thee down, and thou shalt come up, thou and Aaron with thee, but let not the priests and the people break through to come up unto Yahuwah, lest he break forth upon them. Ooh. 25. I said I was going to read it all, but it was so good. So Moshe went down into the people and spake unto them. Okay, so that's who they worship. They were worshiping. There wasn't worshiping. They didn't. We didn't. Our ancestors didn't need no missionaries to come in and teach them about God. They already had a relationship. What the missionary came in to do, they came in there to steal and kill. That's what they did. And also um, um, start teaching our people that the abominable religion that we still practicing too of Muslim and Christianity. And that has never been our culture or our language or our God or our religion. So, anyways, I'm going to go ahead and stop there. But I probably said this on some other of my videos. I think that's it for now. But again, we know that we came from We came from Palestine or Israel, or Palestine or Israel, down to the 4 centuries ago. Then we end up right here, up above the West Africa, Negro land, Eyverh, aka Negro land, slave trade, slave coast, Ivory Coast, or the slave coast. And we know it's the slave coast because Kingdom of Judah, slave coast, and we know that Levi and Benjamin was here as well. So this is where we were after we came down, traveled down, migrated down this area. And they knew that we fled, they knew where we settled, and they knew we were building kingdoms here. And not only that, they knew that we were rich and wealthy. Now we were among other um, uh, Hamite nations, but we were still builders. We were wealthy. Then what they do, come down here, the European, the Portuguese, Britain, the Americas, they all came down and they got us. This is where they got us. Then they start spreading us among these places. You can tell we're builders because this is what we're doing. We're work. They came over, went down to West Africa, stole us from there, brought us over, and we built every nation that we were scattered to. We helped build it. We're nation builders, and they knew this because again, look at this. Look how they spread us everywhere. It says between 1650 and 1860, approximately 10 to 15 million enslaved people were 15 million enslaved Hebrews, Eyverh, aka Hebrew people, were transported from Western Africa to the Americas. Most were shipped to the West Indies, Central America, and South America. I have a book here, girl, that tells some horrible things that they did to us. Whoa, it's like, I've been having these books for the longest, and I'm just started reading them, you know. And it's kind of not funny, but considering too, it was saying how in the book it was saying how the European thought that we were very naive, so that's why they was able to trick us and enslave us. And they thought it was going to go on forever and ever. But the Most High said, no, enough is enough, time to wake them up. And that's what he's doing right now. That's why you have all those coups over there in Africa. And that's why you have all sorts of going over here on this side of the diaspora as well. That's the dry bones waking up, y'all. He's waking up the dry bones. He said the dry bone, a what did he say? An army, a large army. So read Ezekiel 37. It's the dry bones. He's waking them up. Been asleep for too long. And they thought they were going to keep us asleep forever because they want to continue to profit off of us like they're still doing it today in every aspect. They're still profiting off of us. And I mean, that's just not a lie. It says slave coast here. So they took it from the slave coast, and this is where they scattered us. United States, Charleston, New Orleans, Mexico, even Mexico, y'all. Mexico City. Um, Went all the way to New York, Richmond. Wow. And it was tobacco, coffee, cotton, sugar, mine. I'm sorry, y'all. Between 1650 and 1860, approximately 10 to 15 million enslaved people were transported from West Africa to the Americas. Most were shipped to the West Indies, Central America, and South America. Slave coast here. So the slave coast, this is where we went from the slave coast. It's a slave coast. So these are the places right here. New York, Richmond, cotton, tobacco, mainly cotton and tobacco, and maybe some sugar. So here, New Orleans. This is where was Slave Coast. This is where Judah went. Slave Coast. Oh, y'all, this makes so much sense. They came and got us from the kingdom of Judah, right? Came to get us from the slave coast, kingdom of Judah. You had Benin and Levite in this area. Come on. Oh, there it is. So they came to get us right here, slave coast, Judah, kingdom of Judah. And then took us all the way out over here, United States, New York, Richmond, Charleston, New Orleans, Mexico City, North America. So that's where Judah went. Then Sierra Leone, looked like Sierra Leone, they put them in Europe. Some went to Europe. 3 million, 5 million to United to the Americas, 3 million to Europe from Sierra Leone, so from Senegal. I mean, from Senegal and like Senegal and Sierra Leone also took them to New Orleans and also the same place, so they went there as well. Congo, West Africa slave trade region, say Congo. They took them to here, South America, Salvador, Brazil, 5 million. So the all this from West Africa. See anything else I'm missing here before I get off? So it says here slave trade from America to the Americas, from Africa to the Americas, 1650 to 1860. That's like 210 years. Now we know that right after Leslie was freed, they were um, still using us for building and you know on plantation because some wasn't having anywhere to go. Most of us did not have anywhere to go. So most of us stayed on a plantation. They continued their old habits against us, enslaving us. Then you have to consider the Jim Crow law. That was about 80, almost 100 years. So in essence, we really 300 to 400 years of free labor. That's why it says we are the builders of the world because we really are the builders of all the world, the different nations. Absolutely facts, y'all. It's sad, and still don't want to give no reparation. They gonna pay. They gonna pay. They gonna pay. If there's a God in heaven, they gonna pay. Oh, did I see? Here's Angola too. Salvador, Brazil, 5 million, 4 million, 4.5 million. The West Indies. Ooh, they say the West Indies. The West Indies. Oh, the stuff that they did to our people in the West Indies was horrible. Major slave trade routes. These other routes. So it scatters. The Most High scatters in the four corners. That's what he did. He used these nations to scatter us in the four corners. If you read all of this here, this whole map here, I would say that fits Deuteronomy 28 to the T. Fits Deuteronomy 28 to the T, up until this day. So, anyways, y'all, that's all I wanted to share. I just thought I'd come back and share some more information. I'm digging, and I have so much stuff I like to share. I have books here, like I said, I've been having them for like years, and it's a shame. I'm just starting to look through them and research them, and everything is just adding up. It just makes so much sense. So, anyways, I hope you all got some understanding. I know I'm still learning, so um, I'm going to go ahead and end this and like and share and leave comments. And I say for now, shalom.